Hello and welcome, you're watching News Mongolian World. I'm your host, Ulaanbaatar. In 4 top stories, soft loans available to support tourism and agriculture. Internationally acclaimed documentary The Wheel is being screened in Ulaanbaatar city. And for the news, stay tuned. The government will be granting 10 billion MNT in soft loans to support the tourism industry, and 400 billion will be provided for the agriculture sector.
Concessional loans are being provided to businesses in each sector as part of the new revival policy. Last month, the Minister of Agriculture announced that 400 billion Mongolian Turkish in soft loans would be provided to the agricultural sector. This week, on April 11th, Minister of Nature, Environment and Tourism Batırtan announced that the government would take 5 measures to revive the tourism sector. Over the past 2 months, a series of discussions and meetings have been held to address revitalizing Mongolia's tourism industry. Under the new revival policy and decisions made during the Mongolian Economic Forum, 5 key measures will be taken to support the sector. The measures include the 10 billion Mongolian Turkish soft loan program to ensure the sustainable operations of tourism businesses and the deferral of 3 billion Mongolian Turkish in social insurance and land fee payments. The Visit Mongolia tourism campaign will be carried out in 2023. The government will also support the acceleration of air transport and cross-border vehicle travel, including visa exemptions for tourists from the Republic of Korea.
Internationally recognized Mongolian documentary film The Wheel is having its Mongolian premiere at Tingis and Prime Cineplex movie theaters on April 13th. We spoke to the director and producer of the documentary, Namun Tlausuru, to learn more about the film.
According to WHO, every year 703,000 people take their own life, and there are many more people who attempt suicide. Every suicide is a tragedy that affects families, communities, and entire countries and has long-lasting effects on the people left behind. Suicide occurs throughout the lifespan and was the 4th leading cause of death among 15 to 29-year-olds globally in 2019.
The theme itself, the topic itself, has led me to choose the form of a documentary filmmaking because to me it felt as the most right format for talking about this issue, for raising this issue. Why suicides? Because it indeed is a big problem in the Mongolian society, and according to my study, it's been on increase throughout the last 3 decades after Mongolia has switched from one socio-political order to another. And there were many, many challenges. And this transition wasn't an easy one. It was quite painful. And I think we're still undergoing the circumstances of a very ruthless and cruel way we've made this transition. With very poor social safety nets, very harsh, very austere type of transition that we've made from socialism to capitalism. So it's been 30 years. And within these 30 years, the numbers show that the suicides were on increase.
The documentary looks at what causes people to end their lives. Throughout Mongolia, suicide is regarded as taboo, but everywhere the reasons for suicide are the same: loneliness, poverty, injustice, and a lack of opportunities and choices in a world full of competition and an endless struggle for survival.
Why I started looking into this topic, because I started hearing about, because you'd see news pieces, just tiny news about somebody committing suicide here and there, and these news pieces were not anything more. It was just a fact that happened, and it was repeating, and then it will be close and far. It will be in the extended family, it will be among friends, it happened among my class mates, so you would hear it. And I bet that probably every single family in this country would have heard about somebody having committed suicide, if not very close to them, but still, somewhere, somebody.
In the film, suicide survivors and family members of those who have taken their lives share their stories. Nomen Lauksurang is a Mongolian journalist who has worked for local and international publications and news services. She is an ardent advocate for press freedom and human rights and is a communications consultant for the United Nations.
And so, unfortunately, that's the topic that hasn't been elaborated into, hasn't been researched into. There were, at the time when I started my research about a decade ago, there were very few data available. The research was limited to one geographical location, for example, made in Ulaanbaatar, or the research was limited due to the methodology, etc. So little research, raising problem, and I started, looking into the problem, and I just thought that to convey the pain and the challenge and the suffering and this eternal guilt that the people feel after they've lost somebody in their family, that can be best conveyed by documentary cinema, documentary film. So this is why I chose this genre. And the film, just like the outcry of desperation of the people who are portrayed in this film, the film is an outcry of SOS. It's an alarm. It's a call to listen to what is happening around us. It's called to look into this taboo issue. It's called to deal with it, and it's called to take action. It's also a call for all of us to look at each other and to be more sensitive, more caring about each other.
In 2021, The Whale became the best Midland documentary at International Documentary Film Festival Amsterdam, IDFA. In addition, it was screened during major international film festivals including Krakow Film Festival, DMC International Documentary Film Festival, Golden Gear, Sirvina Cine Mountain, One World 2022, and more. The Whale is Nomen's first documentary film. The Whale will be in theaters for a limited one-week engagement. Notably, a version with English subtitles will be screened at Prime Cineplex in Zasim between April 14th and 17th. Mongolian version will be on display at Tingis Movie Theater.
On Wednesday, the European Union delegation in Mongolia, representatives of diplomatic missions of its member states and like-minded partners, including the US Embassy and the UK Embassy, held a joint press conference on emerging issues.
The ambassadors of European countries and their partners expressed their condemnation of Russia's war of aggression against Ukraine. The EU ambassador to Mongolia, acclaimed, said that the European Union condemns in the strongest possible terms the unprovoked invasion of Ukraine by the armed forces of the Russian Federation. She said that Russia would bear full responsibility for the aggression against a sovereign country and its people. Currently, over 40 countries, including the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, Norway, South Korea, Japan, and Australia, have partially or completely aligned with sanctions against Russia. During the press conference, participants noted that the European Union, which is heavily dependent on Russia for energy, is being hit hard by this situation. Ways for reducing this dependency by differentiating energy resources and using other energy sources were mentioned. The press conference participants also said that Mongolia, which is also somewhat dependent on its northern neighbor for energy, should ensure its energy security by developing its renewable energy sector. During the press conference, Ambassador of France to Mongolia, Sébastien Sourun, noted that as a result of the war, countries like Mongolia have been hit hard by the exchange rate fluctuations and the situation situation has caused significant challenges for Mongolians. As a country that imports agricultural products, food and railway equipment from Russia, Mongolia could continue to face difficulties due to the international situation. Ambassador Surun noted that France and other countries are working together to mitigate these effects on the country's food and agriculture sectors. On March 1st, President of the European Union Commission Ursula von der Leyen announced that an additional 500 million euros would be spent to deal with the immediate consequences of the war, including assistance for refugees. Around 2.7 million Ukrainian refugees have entered Poland, 80 to 90% of whom are women and children. U.S. Ambassador to Mongolia Michael Klacheski noted that it would be impossible to make such a statement in Russia, as freedom of the press and access to information have been violated in the country. Social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter have been blocked in Russia. The foreign diplomats in Mongolia noted that the current situation is the most significant act of aggression in Europe since World War II and violates several UN resolutions and international treaties. Ambassadors from the European Union, France, Czech Republic, Poland, Bulgaria, UK, Germany, Canada, the US, Italy, and Hungary attended the press conference.
Here's the currency exchange rate provided by Mongol Bank. Here's the weather forecast of world's major cities. That's all for now, and thank you for staying with us. We will see you next time with more news and updates. Have a nice evening. Goodbye.